Welcome again, everyone. And my name is Sarah Ann Atkinson. I am a yoga teacher, yoga tune-up teacher, somatic sex educator, and Thai masseuse. I also consider myself an ecstatic goddess. I am residing on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, Wendat, and Algonquin people, also known as Ottawa.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Renée Michaud. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also on unceded Anishinaabe territory, also known as Chelsea, Quebec. And I am a creative coach and a multidisciplinary artist, and very excited to be joining us here. Amanda Lowe. Amanda, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Lowe Warnakulasuriya, and I'm also tuning in from Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, originally from Chilao, Lumbo territory in Sri Lanka. So grateful to be a settler here and thankful for the land keepers of where I reside. And yes, I'm a local musician, educator, and love working in communities here in Ottawa. And I love finding meaning and purpose in everything and every interaction that I have. So I'm really looking forward to being here and talking with you folks.
Thanks, Amanda, for making it out. Community is glad to have you. So here we are, community, not physically together, but we are still connected in this way.
Together but apart. And thank you again for being willing to be interviewed on the pillar of meaningful experience and purpose. Each week, we're diving into another pillar, releasing an interview and an activity and just ways to engage with these and meaningful experiences and purpose. I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit more about why you're here to tell us about how it's affected you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm only 26 years old, FYI, but I've gone through a lot of traumatic experiences, way more than many should have taken on in their short lifetime. But as well, I've noticed that my life has balanced out with having a lot of really meaningful experiences at the same time that never would have happened if I didn't go through those traumatic situations. I find it guided me through to where I needed to be and where I still find myself striving to be. And I am very fortunate to have survived those moments. And I would love to help shed a different light into these experiences so that people can find a bit more meaning in their everyday situations and as well as things that they have endured in the past. So I think of life as a cycle and it's not very linear. Nothing we experience is linear. We go through waves, as you both know. And sometimes I like to think about how experiences that happen to me are a lesson, always a lesson. But it might not be for myself, it might be for other people around me. So that is how I have framed my thoughts since I was very young. And that's kind of helped me push through. And I hope that can help others find a bit more of resiliency, tap into their resiliency, and just figure out what purpose and meaningfulness means for them.
I love that invitation to explore resiliency, that often sometimes we can put a meaning on an experience, calling it bad or calling it good, and being open or curious to maybe that it shaped more than just the perception of the duality. Maybe there actually was other things for us to see or gain out of the things and give it even more meaning and deeper meaning and other shades of meaning.
Exactly.
Amanda, what can you tell us about the moments in your life that brought you to this calling of living with more meaning and more purpose?
Yes, for sure. So I did grow up in a very abusive household. And unfortunately, my father was very abusive to our entire family, whereas I had my mother who was the complete opposite and was like kind of a beacon of hope and strength throughout that time. And just that complexity is what made me realize that there is always going to be good and bad in the world, unfortunately. It's just something that we will encounter moving through life, as everyone is on their own path and everyone is on their own challenge, going through their own challenges. That was a pivotal moment for me to realize I could take this experience and continue my life and become like my father, or I can continue my life and become like my mother. And I found that too. I don't want to put them on pedestals either, but I found that to be really interesting, that no matter how many hardships my mother has gone through, she has remained very positive and always had a smile on her face, even though she would feel through her emotions, she would feel through all that, but she knew that she was meant for more than this negative part in her life. She was meant for more, and like all the actions that she does has shaped our lives and has helped like my sisters and I become who we are today and develop as very empathetic humans, and we're very grateful for that. So that was definitely one major part in my life to shape the way of how I see what situations have been meaningful, and how to kind of refrain and kind of not like just refrain my thinking of how I react to these situations. So unfortunately, I mean, at the same time, I did take on those experiences it was fueling my motivation to achieve a lot of things. So I became a bit more of a workaholic, so to say, at a very young age. So I got used to, being very productive and showing people that, oh, this doesn't matter because I've accomplished all these things, and this is how I'm kind of getting over it. So even working through that as an adult, I found different ways to say that was my trauma kind of resurfacing. That was me forgetting, trying to cope with my trauma by being busy all the time. So I didn't have time to think about what I was going through. And finally, as an adult, when I sat down and I thought about all of those experiences, I was like, wow, I've been through the pits of hell. But at the same time, I have had the most incredible group of friends. I have the most incredible family, the other side, of course. And I have had incredible memories that I think a lot of adults would never get to experience in their entire life. And I'm only, like, I was probably 20 when I like realized this, but I'm only 20 and I've gone through all of these situations, and I'm so grateful. And I don't think I would have experienced all of those memories if I didn't push myself to react differently than I had in the past. So like, instead of reacting very inwardly and reflecting too much over the traumatic experiences I've had, I would process them and try to move past them, because I know there's a quote that says, if something happened yesterday that was a traumatic experience to you, and you're here today, our minds are funny that way. Well, we're honestly just being sad and still kind of grieving over the process that had happened yesterday, but we've made it through already. We've made it through that situation. So already surviving until the next day, you've made it past your trauma. So just kind of thinking of that as you step forward. And also just finding a connection with nature has been really important to me. My grandparents and my mom have taught me a lot about how plants grow and how trees grow. So, and how just animals interact with each other and with humans. And I've loved watching that process of understanding, even when a storm passes through, there is still growth during and after the storm. There is still abundance after a fire. And they look for different ways that even nature needs destruction to grow. I'm thinking of the forest fires that happen naturally. There's certain seeds that need to be opened by a high heat, and that can only happen through those fires. And just learning that as a kid, I was like, that is incredible. Even though we're in the way, like humans are just in the way. So unfortunately, but that was something that has shaped my view. And there is so much meaning in every single step and every stage of your life, no matter what part of the cycle you find yourself. Just if you just keep pushing through, you will find meaning in that, and you will use that to guide you towards your purpose or make it to your purpose. And that can also change throughout your life, right? My meaning and my purpose was different when I was a kid, and it's different when I was a teenager, is different in my early 20s. Now it's a lot different when I'm in my mid to late 20s. Wow.
You jumped a whole generation there quickly. I love your tie-in to some of the other pillars, and what a lot of, as we're noticing through the interview process, is you can't stand alone, really just practice one. They are so intertwined in that way.
Okay.
And I do also really appreciate the reflection or the framing of meaningful versus unmeaningful to us, beautiful versus not beautiful, destructive versus whatever. It's the curiosity and the play with, or stepping back from the event, letting time pass to see how much else is really going on than what we just initially perceive it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, in that, you how do you personally define what becomes meaningful or unmeaningful?
Well, like I said, it changes, right? So something that was meaningful to me when I was younger is not the same now. But I can still appreciate it as something that was meaningful to me. So I actually frame it as, did it bring me growth? If it brought me any type of growth, then it was definitely meaningful to me. If it hasn't yet, then either I still have something to learn from that situation, or it's not actually useful for me at the moment. And maybe I will learn why it's meaning later on in life. I know in certain situations, like you will have those random interactions with folks, and you're like, that was like let's say a stranger talks to you. I get this a lot. A lot of people I don't know will talk to me on the bus, at grocery stores, when I'm just on a walk, and they'll tell me their whole lives and I haven't said a word. It was just like a smile or a hello. People will really give me their entire life story, and I'm like, I just smiled at you, but great. And I will reflect on it later. I still have certain memories of that, where someone was telling me about their experience and their first time buying a home. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Oh, wow, that's great to know. But it wasn't useful to me at the time, like 10 years ago. But now, when my friends were buying a home recently, I was able to remember that conversation. I was like, oh, well, this person told me this at this one point. And, it's not substantial. It hasn't really, if I didn't never had that experience, it didn't really change my life. But maybe them talking to me changed their life in a certain way. Maybe that was something that they needed to get out. That was someone they needed to connect with. And I think especially during these times, that's all people are looking for, is connection, as we don't have our regular ways of connecting. So even like my definition of meaningful experiences are changing as we're a bit more isolated, because I don't actually place too much value in, or I don't think certain interactions are as meaningful as I thought they once were. And like even changing who you surround yourself with, I've noticed how the meaningful situations that I am looking for now is a bit more like, my I have a bit of a higher, how do you explain this, but I have a bit of more needs in that situation, rather, like, instead of more meaningful in terms of a deeper connection. I'm searching more of like deeper conversations with friends and family, instead of just a check-in, a quick hello, hi, how are you? Oh, how was your day? That's it. I want to know, let's talk about the stars today. Let's talk about what you've read, you've been reading this week. I'm a bit
In
more
our
of a deeper
intro,
connection.
we spoke about the love languages really quick, and quality time for me has been, it redefines that you kind of just brought up. It's not as meaningful to have a quick 2-minute phone call, hi, how are you, goodbye, or just I really would like to know that I can have someone's undivided presence. And so building the skill building conversational to ask the other person, are they available for that right now?
Yep.
Can they provide this? And if not, I'm also getting really satiating experiences from the people that are saying yes to that, and being able to show up in the ways that land, that fulfill the quality time or the whatever piece of thank you.
So far, Amanda, we talked about meaning in in tragedy, meaning in trauma, it not being obvious in the moment, but then in hindsight realizing it had meaning. So it sounds like it's helpful to just be open to, I don't know what this means today, but I will someday. And maybe I'll never know, and it meant something to someone else. So I really like how open-minded you are around meaning. That's lovely.
Exactly. And that's hard to take on. That is not easy to do. It took me a long time to get here, and I'm still in that process, that's what I want to remind folks of, like the learning doesn't stop at a certain age or when you've reached a certain understanding, right? You're constantly learning and growing, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, and if you're not there yet, that's okay. You'll get there when you need to.
Exactly. We're also talking about living with purpose, right? Along with meaningful experiences. So how does someone know that they are living with purpose? What are the signs?
I think purpose is defined by your intention. So, and like your determination, it kind of guides your finding meaning, right? So we apply certain intentions in every action that we do. So ways that people can find their purpose at what feels good for them. And what's, at the end of the day, kind of, how do that expression, like, how do you sleep at night? And if, you said in certain negative terms, or we know someone is doing a bad thing, or, a disrespectful thing, like, how do you sleep at night knowing that you've done this? So in that same way, how is your heart, like checking in with yourself? How is your heart when you do these activities? How is your heart when you do this work or when you interact with these people? And that can kind of guide you towards your purpose. And that is once again, that also changes. It just changes throughout the years and depending on where you want to go, but it is driven by your intention with it. So if your intention is to bring joy to people, is it lined that is your purpose? That is a part of your purpose. If my intention is to people, if my purpose is to bring more warmth, and like hugs can be encapsulated in different ways. It doesn't always have to be like a physical hug, right? It could be like feeling, oh, this cup of tea feels like I'm being hugged. This soup feels like a hug. All these, maybe you've created something that's very beautiful and with texture and flavor, or with music, or that. Yeah. So I think that is how people can kind of figure out what their purpose is, but it's, their purpose is like reflected in their behaviors and in what your goals are. So, I mean, if it helps folks, it could be to figure out what your goal would be. If you are to hopefully live 80 years, how would you want to have, what would you have like to have accomplished in those 80 years? At the end of 80 years, and that could be more than one thing. Like how can you, like, that, maybe is there like a recurring theme in all of those goals? Like, what can you find that is the same? If I'm using myself as a bit of an example. I love making people laugh. I love having very deep conversations with people. I love food. So, and honestly, I just love talking. So maybe that is my purpose, is to get people talking. So if I have led a life where I'm always getting people to talk about whether it's their emotions or things that they love or music that they love, then I've served my purpose. Like, your purpose does not have to be solving a crime or ending world hunger or finding a cure for cancer. It does not have to be that big. Your purpose can simply be being kind to other people. That could be your purpose. Being kind to yourself.
I love that one.
Right?
Your purpose could just be today. I want to be kind to myself today. That's my purpose for today.
Exactly. And you're like, in the same way, how your life and meaning to any activity or meaning to your life is, it's at the end of the day, or at the end of your life, all you did was create, be kind to other people and be kind to yourself. I think that's enough, because especially as like women, and especially in myself as a woman of color and a queer woman of color, my existence is a revolution, right? My survival is a revolution. Me just existing, all of us just existing and breathing is life. And it just means that we have meaning and we have purpose. It's not reflective of how other people see our meaning or see our purpose. It's all it's about inside. Like, what do you feel about yourself? If how are you seeing yourself? Then that is also reflected in all the activities you do and all the people that you interact with, right? So, and how, it's once again, like, it's a cycle and it's different seasons, and in each season you have a different purpose or a different definition of meaningfulness. So it's all about yourself, finding purpose in anything. You can have multiple purposes as well. So it
Shifting
really depends.
into, you talked about the seasons. We're heading into winter, and being in different stages of the pandemic, different waves. Here we are going into, a little bit longer or a bit more isolated time for people. And I'm wondering, why is creating meaningful experience and setting purpose more important than ever during the pandemic?
I think because people really forget, with like technology and with the busyness of their lives, they really forget about what is most important. And so the pandemic really hammered into people that what you need is a place of home, a place that is safe for you to sleep at night, to
Shelter.
sit down in, to shelter in, food, good food, healthy food, access to healthy food, and then as well as communication with folks, whether in person or virtual, just contact, that connection with people. That is like the basis of what you the basis of your life. So
Community structure, whether it be family, friends, work,
yeah,
but you're making connection. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, exactly. And then the rest is additional. Jobs are an extra thing that's not always guaranteed, and you don't need to have a job to have purpose in life, or to have your life be meaningful. And that's something I'm realizing people are actually considering now, is is this important for me to have? Or even I think about the way that we marginalize a lot of disabled folks that aren't able to work. Like we don't apply value or meaning to them as a society, and I think that's really unfortunate, because their life is still meaningful and their life is still purposeful, even if they don't contribute to capitalism, right? So
Absolutely. I really love you sharing that and saying it like loud and proud. You do not need to have a job to have meaning and purpose in life. You can, and it's wonderful when those align, but the not having it does not take away the worth. And we need to not only individually feel this, but culturally and societally, as things continue to shift, whether it be differently abled, whether it be because of economic situations, because of circumstance, with whatever may be.
exactly.
Mhm. And so, Amanda, we're all about making habits here, right? Taking these big ideas and turning them into daily, regular routine. So, how can people make a habit out of meaningful experiences and purpose?
Well, they can start evaluating how their daily interactions, daily activities, have an effect on their body, on their soul, and their thoughts. So, would this be where we can lead into the quick teaser of the activity?
Yes.
Great.
Oh, this is perfect bridging.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we would need what? A pen and paper
Yeah.
handy, or you're just going to guide us through also on the screen to do
Yeah.
your personal activity?
So let's do that right now.
To prepare us to live with more meaning and purpose in our lives, right? Is that what we're setting up to do?
Yes, exactly. So this is an activity you can take on. This is a very short version of this, but you can take this on with any interaction that you have, or any project that you take on, or with any person or any memory, whether past or hopeful, like future activity that you'd like, and kind of create like a word map around this. So just to try to figure out, what does this bring up? What does this memory bring up? What does this person bring up in me? What does this activity bring up in me? So we can start by just on a piece of paper, create a little bubble there.
Got a bubble.
Just gonna type our names in there. Oh, that is not how I spell my names. Okay, there we go. See if this will work. Wow, incredible.
So if you're at home and you're watching on the video or you're listening on the podcast, simply get out a piece of paper, write your name on it, draw a circle around it, and Amanda will tell us what to do next.
I can figure out how to move this name. There we go. All right. And now write your name in the center of this bubble. And with that bubble, create a web of words. So we're going to do on the left side of this bubble, connect a line. So draw 2 lines.
What kind of words are we going to be writing down here, Amanda?
So on the left side, write 2 words that describe your personality. So for myself, I'll write musical. A very musical person. And then another word, so it could be adjectives. It could even be a memory, something that you think about yourself, with a memory that people associate with you that's assigned to your personality, if you'd like, if that's easier for you to think of. So 2 things. So for here, maybe I'll do it this way. Musical. And what's something else that someone would describe me as, or I would see myself as, so as my personality. I'll be kind to myself and say I am hilarious. Thank you. All right, and then at the top, we can write 2 of our favorite memories. One of mine is sailing at cadet camp. And then I flipped that one. That is strange to do, but all right. Oh. Feel free to share what you're writing as well, folks, if you'd like.
Sarah, what do you have so far?
Well, on the left side here, I have that I move often. That's part of my personality. I also have that I'm resilient. Then my experiential, the 2 points up on the top, I don't know why it just came to me, riding horseback in Montana. And I have this, we went camping as a family and swimming under the moonlight when we arrived before we set up our tent. So those are my memories.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
And so for personality, I put bubbly. That's what I bring. And I also put intelligent.
Ooh.
My favorite memories that came up were based in childhood, right? I'm curious if like people always go to childhood or not, but it was being on a boat with my brothers and my dad. My dad built it for us, and camping as well. Just the simplicity of being in nature and tent and fires. That's the best for me.
I love fires.
I like this recurring theme of nature.
And what is on the right side?
On the right side, we're going to write 2 of our, maybe not cherished memories. Maybe some you don't have to share those, so that's fine. So maybe unhappy memories, or something that really affected you. Maybe it was traumatic. So I will, just for the sake of keeping folks traumatic situation here, just to not trigger anybody.
Insert trauma here.
Yeah, unhappy memory here. There we go. I'm getting the hang of this. And then on the bottom, write 2 things that you value in your day-to-day life. And that could be going for walks. That could be a project you're working on currently. So for me, okay, daily walk by the canal. And then another one, it could be weekly too. It doesn't have to be daily, you might not. But I do love cooking new things at least once a week.
I love taking walks in nature I'm right near the Bayshore Mall, Britannia Beach area. So I'm always walking Britannia Beach pathways and such. And I also am really loving the experience of being a mom. I have a 2-year-old son who is like my guide to, he's my life coach.
You learn from all. I also put nature as day to day, and I put laughter because that really fills me.
I love that. All right, and with these, you can kind of build on these situations and kind of create more of like a web. So you can keep describing this into more detail. So why does creating art with friends for myself, like why does that bring me joy? Why does that like, what do I love about that? So let's try describing it, with add more words to it. So you can use words, you can use memories, because, oh, that's one time we were making music by the canal and it was so silly, and like, that filled me with so much love. Or you can write, it's fun, it's exciting, it is filled with love. So all of these
going into the why, or the what else contributed to it being, why is it the memory that you chose that you enjoy?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And if there are a lot of words that kind of are heavy for you, and thinking about those projects or thinking about that person or that memory, it's a very heavy, maybe that wasn't, it's not something that you should keep doing. That's not a project you should keep taking on, or maybe you have to reframe how you are letting that have access to your life. And that can help you figure out what is more meaningful for you, what kind of interactions and what kind of situations and projects are meaningful for you, and does it line up with what you think your purpose is at this current time. So, and that also needs to line up with like those values that you find in yourself. Like, what do you cherish the most in your life?
This is a great, thank you, Amanda. So people can keep going with this on their own time, dig into the why, describe, start to see patterns. And also, I love how you pointed out how trauma and suffering can point to purpose, because I'm imagining what we could do is we could prevent other people from feeling that suffering, or people who have felt that suffering, we have such compassion for them because we know how it felt. So we end up being caregivers.
Thank you so much for sharing your mini exercise with us today, a teaser of the event that we'll be featuring later in the week. And I'm wondering, Amanda, how can people get in touch with you if they want to ask more questions or look into the musical offerings, any of the offerings that you have professionally?
Yes, for sure. They can connect with me via email, if they would like, or on my Facebook page or Instagram page, or listen to my music on any streaming channel like Spotify, iTunes. So I know Facebook is probably the easiest for folks at the moment. You can search up Amanda Lowe Music, so that's Lowe, Lowe, and you can find links anywhere. I also have my website coming. Actually, my website will be out.
In the future.
Yeah, in the future. So it will be just amandalowe.ca that you can go, and that gives you access to any workshops that are coming up, or any news, any new music, and if you'd like to get in touch to collaborate on any projects in the community, I'd love to help folks get started in grant writing or in creating these support networks with each other, or even just connecting to say hello and finding out what you're all up to. I'd appreciate that as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. And Sarah, for people who want to learn more about the other pillars of happiness habits, where can they go?
They can tune in to our Instagram, our Facebook at Happiness Habits 613. We also do have a YouTube channel, so we'll be sharing that through those platforms as well, Happiness Habits 613. Please subscribe and follow along as we go into all the 9 pillars, having conversations just like this with real people, bringing the pillars alive, and then some real activities as well as the community at large. We are not meant to practice happiness alone, people. We're meant to experience it together. So thank you so much, all of you, for your time, and really look forward to delving further in this deep dive.
Thank you for having me.
Stay happy, everyone.